aka Numbers, here from Sight Club, and I have Rachel from Right Side Blonde, and I have Tara by Janine. How are you, ladies?
Doing well.
Excellent. Good to see both of you. So, wow, the weeks are whizzing past, but something happened in the week that I mentioned to you, Janine, and to Rachel. Yep. And last week, viewers will remember that I asked the question. One of the questions was about Jimmy Carr, the UK comedian here. Yep. And I had, during lockdown, the very first week of lockdown, on the first time on the 21st of March, 2020, that's almost 2 years ago, I saw Jimmy Carr. Amongst many other people, it was a beautiful sunny day. Well, it was those weeks were very sunny here in the UK, so it was a sunny day, and he's pushing a pram. We're led to believe he has a child. I think it's a son, but he's pushing a pram, a stroller, which looks very similar to Rosemary's Baby from the horror film, but he's wearing a Freddy Krueger style jumper, so a red and black kind of striped jumper, sweater. And I'm looking at it, and at him, and I film him, and and he wants to be known. You know, he's talking on his earbuds, on a very important conversation on the phone, but he's talking about the pandemic. It's obvious he's talking about that, and so I filmed it, and then I went around the corner. He kind of paused, and then he puts his jacket back on, and then carries on his way. But then I saw him periodically, another 3 times after that. Pretty much kind of a week separate, spaced out. Anyway, we did the decode last week, and lo and behold, I see the new Jimmy Carr, because he's made all these self-referential jokes about him looking different. His hairline looks different, his face looks different, and it was almost like a scene from the Truman Show. I was actually on a live premiere chat with Michelle Fielding, the episode we did in the week, and I was on that talking to people, and then my phone died in the park, and so I headed off home. But as I come around the corner, literally, it's almost like the new Jimmy Carr was ready in action. It's like, take action. Tom's coming around I come around the corner, and there's the new Jimmy Carr with earbuds in again, but he looks different. And I say hello to him. And he's like, oh, I'm on. And then I call out to him as he goes past and said, Jimmy, your face looks different. He's like, and it was all kind of like meme-ish and actress. And I was like, wow. And then I was thinking, I was just surprised that he'd gone past. I haven't seen him for 23 months. And then I thought maybe that was a confirmation from the White Hats that we're on track. So I wanted to ask you, Janine, the question, see what the cards say. What was the deal with that? We're seeing the new one. Was that a confirmation from the White Hats, from the good guys?
Huh, isn't that funny? I think it's from both the White Hats and the universe.
Yeah.
When I first saw this, I thought, okay, it's from the world or the universe. Okay, yeah. And then I see this 2, juggling 2, and this was underneath it, which would be Trump and the White Hats.
Okay.
So I don't know. I think it's coming from a couple of different energies, because this is across from Trump and the White Hats, and this is clarifying something.
Yes.
So you're getting clarity, but not just from Trump and the White Hats, but from spirit world. And I think a lot of their work is being guided by the spirit world.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense. That's what it felt like. It was almost like, okay, action. And then he comes around and he's all doing his thing. And I'm like, what? And then I thought about it. I was like, that's a confirmation, because I haven't seen him. I wondered early lockdown. I was like, where the heck's he gone? And then I saw in the newspaper, they had the joke about him looking different and everything else. And then we've had our show last week, and he's come back out and, appearing. And wow, okay, that's what it felt like. So thanks for that. Also, another character we spoke about last week was Shane Warne, the cricketer, the Australian cricketer who was reportedly had passed last Friday, literally a few hours just before we did our last show. And there's a lot of people in the community that are saying, oh, Shane's bad. He was involved in all these bad things because of his connection to Liz Hurley. Not saying Liz Hurley's bad, but anyway, that's what has been going around. And I don't buy it. I don't feel that's the case. And you confirmed that last week with the reading. But just yesterday, I was in Regent's Park, and when I do these kind of sunset videos, I've done those many times, and I haven't done one for a while, but I thought I would do one because as I'm sitting down in the distance, Lord's Cricket Ground, the cricket stadium where I met Shane Warne back in 2017, the lights came on, and you actually have to kind of, I believe you have to roll up or hoist up the stadium lights. They don't seem to be visible unless they're on. So they're either there, but not when they're on, you can't see them. Sorry, only when they're on can you see them. But I don't even think that the lights are there the rest of the time. But anyway, lo and behold, they came on, and I was like, oh, wow. So I'm thinking about Shane, and they come on. And about 10 minutes prior to that, I'm thinking about Shane again. And I'm thinking he's good, but there's all this kind of, confusing information out there. And a woman walks past, and she's wearing a T-shirt, and it says Lobster. And I did the numbers on Lobster, and Lobster comes to Space Force. And I was like, So my question is, how's Shane doing right now? And is he almost at the level of being kind of protected and under the control of Space Force? That's my question.
Well, did we get he was working with the White Hats last week?
Yes, he did.
Yeah, because he's working. So he's working in the background on what he considers or they consider really important, because judgment's really important, and bringing something to a closure or coming full circle. So they're working on something really important, going to come full circle.
Okay.
So he's working, and he's safe. That card's definitely safe.
Good.
If you look at that guy, he's safely up in his castle there, looking out at the world. So watching from a distance. So he's from a safe distance. And this is the near future. So I think he'll be amongst crowds of people soon.
That's interesting. Okay.
Because that's a big a community.
Yeah.
Or he'll be back in his community, or he'll be entering a community.
Interesting.
And I wonder if Space Force is connected to the moon. This is like energy sent, so he might come and go from somewhere off planet. Could even be the moon.
Interesting. That's
Weird.
interesting. Yeah. Very interesting.
This card usually can be really tricky, but well aspected with this card. So I think maybe we're meaning literal.
That's interesting. It's interesting you say the moon there, Janine, because the word moon is 57 in numbers, which is England, and he spent a lot of time here, and I met him here in England. And also moon 57 is also Tesla. It's also George, but it's Tesla. And Shane Warne, his position in cricket, he was known as a leg spinner. So he would spin the ball kind of magically, and he would spin it around people's legs, the batsmen, and get them out, hit the wicket, etc. Or sometimes that it's just slipped straight through. But if you do the numbers on leg spinner, it's 119, which is Nikola Tesla. And I saw that, and I was like, there's some interesting things with that. So it's interesting that the moon card has come up. There was another question I had in reference to that as well. So Shane was he was a very, larger than life character. He's been likened to the Maradona of cricket, and I've thought that before. And he was just genius. But he lived a vivacious life, but he was very kind and generous, and just a one in a million guy. But I think he looks a little bit Trump-esque, kind of in his character and a lot of the things the way maybe portray him, etc. When I met him, he's got these very distinct eyes. They're very energetic and powerful and charismatic. That's probably the best way to describe them. My question is, there's times when he was heavier set, and there's times when he lost a lot of weight, particularly when he started to date Liz Hurley. There's the connections of when JFK Jr. was dating Cindy Crawford, I believe, and other kind of models, and we've heard the different things with that. And sometimes it's the case of you have to kind of get right close and for the optics. So I'm wondering if there's something with that. But he lost a lot of weight when he went out with Liz Hurley. When I was with him, he was kind of in more of the lost weight kind of picture. Was there ever a time where there were others copies of him, or time travel copies, or was it always the one and the only Shane Warne, or were there kind of doubles for whatever purposes they were using? And did I meet the original? Feels like I did, but I don't know.
Okay, so let's do one at a time. We're going to say how many of them, if more than one, are there?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, weird. I do get you met the real one.
Cool. That's cool. It felt like it.
And your intuition already told you that. So that looks like that, because this is authentic and she's authentic and true and integral. Okay, but there might be up to 6 of them, people that call themselves him. Yeah. There's and for different reasons, like all different reasons, because we've got that. So he might be a lot of places at once here. That's maybe how he gets so many things done. If you think about it, they make a lot of money doing that. Think about it. You got all of these things and you're all over the world in a week. You know what I mean? Like it was necessary is what this card says. There could have been 6 of them. And a lot of people have been saying that a lot of the really famous people in the world, there's at least 6.
Right.
It sounds ludicrous, but this is I think we're going to find these things out really literally, and it's mind blowing to me.
Would that have ever been, because I've said it a number of times and you've confirmed it with me on previous episodes, there's at least a number of Trumps. I can think of 2 distinct ones, but I think there's probably more. So with Shane's case, would they have all been, a good Shane, or would the dark side ever say, right, we want we just want to make a bit of money off of Shane and for their optics? Does that ever happen? Do you ever get kind of out of the 6? Would you ever get a couple that are kind of being controlled by the other side, or is it, you're either one or the other?
No, I think it could be a mixture, because this card's sort of a balance. So a balance of various degrees of goodness or badness. Yeah. And surrender in the background. Surrender meaning, well, in a way, for him to get that famous, he probably had to sign some part of himself over, or maybe even sign over allowing them to make some copies.
Okay.
A lot of people say that, right? A lot of people say they had to sign over the rights to their image in a really deep way. That's like,
okay.
Yeah, we're starting to find these things out. Yeah. So I'm thinking it was to make money. So, it was maybe part of his deal to get as famous as he got. But I don't think as we looked at it before, I think he was either got out before he did anything bad, or was aware of these things and made sure he didn't overstep any lines.
Yeah. Could they ever as well be signed up maybe as a good agent from an early age, because it's like, right, this we're going to get this culmination of things in the 2020 and beyond, and maybe they knew both sides, but I'm thinking particularly from the white hat side, maybe they knew some of these, because they need good players on the good side as well. So I'm just wondering. I'm wondering if they could have been could be a double, triple agent in some ways, for want of a better phrase.
I'm sure I've seen that before when I've looked at things in the cards. Even Putin, how many years ago was it? It looks like he was replaced for the new guy that says he's Putin.
Oh, yeah.
Is Putin. That was 11 years ago at least?
Yeah. Space Force Putin, I think. Yeah.
Right. He was replaced by the good guy. So they've been around for a long time. Project Camelot, Carrie Cassidy, she says she knew of the White Hats 20 years ago.
Right.
And she does her research,
Yeah. Yeah.
Like her or don't like her, the woman does her research.
Things, yeah. I've got one other question in terms of this, Janine, and then I'll hand over to Rachel. But so early lockdown, Boris Johnson was famously known as testing positive, and he made a famous quote from supposedly above number 10 or a number 11. I think he might have been staying but in the flat above there. And he said the key to the C, well, you can say it, but the thing that we went through, the CV, we'll call it. He said the key to that. He said the key to the CV puzzle is to stay indoors, and that made me think, okay, you can stay indoors and watch TV, or you can research. So I thought he was even declaring then that, you know, some good comms. But was he switched out at that point? I think he probably was. And they had this thing in England where they would do the clapping for the NHS. They clap for carers. So they'd come out on a Thursday evening, I think it was, and everyone in the UK would clap and cheer the NHS on. So Boris did the first one after he'd been isolating. And I think that was an actor. And I think it was Matt Lucas, the comedic actor Matt Lucas, I believe, was playing Boris Johnson at that time. I just wanted to ask, was that true? Well, is that the case? Was it Matt Lucas playing Boris Johnson at that point?
Well, it was definitely not him, because this card's kind of exotic and takes a different approach to things. And it's coming up as him. So it was a version of him, let's say, a version of him. And this card and this card come up. So he'd made deals by then, but it looks like with the good guys. So I wonder if when he went in the hospital, even though a lot of people think he got swapped for the bad guys, I think he might have got swapped for the good guys, or made deals with the good guys, and then they've been playing him ever since, using him to push agendas really hard and then back off, and then all the stuff they've been doing to wake people up.
Yeah,
people don't like hearing that, but I'm afraid if that wasn't happening, I think we'd all be going the way of, Klaus Schwab's version of the world right now.
Yeah.
So it's like, you might not like that they're doing that, but if you're going to try to beat thousands of years of the kind of trickery and magic these guys use, you got to be tricky too.
Yes. Yeah, I think so. I agree. Can we ask a specific question then? Has Matt Lucas, the comedic actor, ever played Boris Johnson in any of these kind of public times that we've seen him in from 2020 onwards?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I know it.
Is he younger than Boris?
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Because it's a younger, they put him in there, but he's younger.
Yeah.
But that's a yes.
Yeah. He's the guy in the comedy show Little Britain.
Ah.
I thought it a while. I thought it, particularly that first time with the NHS clapping, and then the newspapers confirmed it. They had a picture of basically on the same page of Matt Lucas and Boris and I think Matt doing impressions. And I was like, they're confirming it, which they've always been doing, but it came to me a while ago. So thank you. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Yeah.
Rachel looks like she needs to ask some questions.
Yeah, I was going to hand over to Rachel.
I've got like 10 minutes left, so I'm going to rapid fire some stuff.
Well, you've got your 10 minutes there, Rach. You take the 10 minutes for sure. Go for it.
Well, okay. So first of all, I have to say it's ironic that you brought up the moon, because I shared a song yesterday on my YouTube channel called "How Can You Swallow So Much Sleep?" That's the song title. It's by Bombay Bicycle Club. It's always been one of my favorite songs. And I was playing old music yesterday and that song came on and I'm like, oh, I love this song. Well, the lyrics are, can I wake you up? Can I wake you up? Is it late enough? Is it late enough? So I looked at the music video, which I've never seen. Ironically, the music video is 3 minutes and 44 seconds. So if you add those together, it's 47. So I felt like that was a nod to me. And the music video is a character who wakes up and he takes a ladder and he climbs up to the moon. And it's just a really cool video. So I shared it on my YouTube channel just because it's always been a favorite song. And then now that I'm awake, the lyrics mean so much more now. They're really deep, actually. So I was going to share the gematria, Tom, because I know you're probably trying to do it right now. Bombay Bicycle Club is 155, which comes to I am guiding you. And then how can you swallow so much sleep comes to 366. And 2 that stood out to me was your whole life led to this moment. And also right in front of my eyes, all my life. Those are both 366. So really cool numbers with that song. So now I like it even more. That has nothing to do with current events. I just wanted to share that because you brought up the moon, Tom. So thought I had to share that. And it just happened yesterday. Janine, my question is about Jesse Smollett. I don't know how to say his last name. Is it Smollett?
Yeah, you did it.
Smollett. Okay,
Smollett.
when he was found guilty and he was leaving the courtroom and he yelled, "I'm innocent. I'm not suicidal." I don't know if you saw that, but he was yelling, "I'm innocent and I'm not suicidal." I'm curious if he was actually a victim by the dark cult, as you call them, if he was used and he against his will.
It was such a foolish thing that he did. It almost has to be something weird like that because or altered.
Yes.
Could have been MK'd.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he was compromised because this is in the past, so it's a lot of inner conflict. I feel like he was compromised, and then this card. So this is a strategies. I think strategies were put in place to trigger him to do that, and it was to get at Mr. T. So right, because the whole thing was about they were trying to. So it's not. He was used. He was used, not to say he's innocent totally or whatever, but he was used, and he was in a lot of conflict when he did it. Okay. So it wasn't in his right head. And I'm thinking he was messed with. And I feel like he's going to need some healing, and he might even end up being able to help prosecute some of this by remembering what happened to him or something.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
And then I had one more question real quick, and then I'll have to take off, but you two can continue on with your discussions. Venezuela. Is Venezuela going to be a part of this story in the near future? I know they have some cleaning up to do there, and I've seen some channels talk about this, but I'm curious if Venezuela will be in the news or be part of this plan before the final, I don't know, reveal.
There's a secret plan in place to get Venezuela back on its feet, to get it successful again as a country, because it's actually really has a lot of resources that were abused. And it's got a lot of strength to it. And so it's going to get helped out.
Good.
So I don't know about in the times right now what's happening, but just in general, it feels like also there's a lot of what they do with 12 and unders and factories that create 12 and unders. So now you need the mother. Mm-hmm. I mean, okay, so there's a lot of those kind of operations were found there, I feel like. So that was a big part of why it was, they created it to be so dysfunctional. So a lot can go on when you got a whole communities full of people that are desperate and your governments failed and all these things have failed. Like you can swoop in if you're bad guys. It's like what they do in, what's that, Haiti. They do that in Haiti, okay? Yeah. Right. So they create these disastrous situations and then swoop in and take out vulnerable people. And it's a great hunting grounds. That's what I get it was used for. Anyway, I feel like on the other side though, it'll be rebuilt and get some special attention.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Well, I have to take off. You guys have a good rest of your discussion.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Okay.
Rach.
Yeah.
Yep. See you soon.
Yeah.
Well, that's interesting about Venezuela because that's always been one of the countries they refer to in terms of the RV, actually, which makes sense. They've gone in and attacked and kind of done an economic hitman job on their country, so they have to be restored, like Vietnam and all these other ones that had their currencies devalued. I've got a question, Janine, about so last week we spoke about Stephen Bartlett, he's the one that looks similar to Will Smith. So that was the conversation we had. But he had Matt Hancock, the health secretary, the UK health secretary, on his show. And I watched some of the video a week or so ago, but I watched the rest of it this week since our last episode together. And there was something that was said that was really interesting. So Stephen Bartlett said to Matt Hancock that, oh, you did something and you showed that you had empathy. And Stephen always talks about empathy. It's kind of his buzzword per se, but and empathy is a good thing, obviously. But anyway, he always talks about that. But he said to Matt Hancock, he said, oh, well, when you did such and such, it made me realize that you had empathy, because prior to that, I used to think that you were just an emotionless robot. And I was like, oh, wow.
That's
so
interesting.
It's very interesting, because when you pulled the cards both on Stephen and Matt, you got some interesting kind of clarification about that. But then it's interesting that Stephen says to him in his show, you were an emotionless robot. And then Matt kind of does a kind of theatrical laugh and, oh, you couldn't have thought that, and blah, 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 blah. But I'm wondering, was the Hancock that we saw, was he a robot? You know, you said last week that it wasn't him, that he'd been swapped out. Was he a robot? Or was Stephen referring to himself? I don't know. I mean, there's that iRobot. Not iRobot. There's Will Smith has done robot films before.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah.
I don't think he was a robot, or he was literally like it was definitely not the original.
Okay.
I'm even thinking of either of them.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. They might have had their doubles with them, because that card could be somebody stepping in for them. And I feel like maybe those two are both I think it was a signal of some kind that one of them or both of them could have been rounded up already.
Interesting. Because last week you were saying about Stephen that you said you kind of felt maybe that, because I asked the question, was Stephen offspring of Will Smith? And you said, well, maybe not literal kind of physical offspring in that way, but maybe his DNA was used. And you said like a clone. That's what you said. And then it's interesting that Stephen always refers to this thing of empathy, and you know, they say that clones may not feel things. I don't know, you know, but
yeah,
then,
but you asked robot, so I don't get robot.
Yes.
I don't. I'm not saying he's not a clone.
Yes. No, I know. Yeah. So
and I don't think clones have like, I don't think they have all the emotional spectrum either. I mean,
right.
Even if they walk in a consciousness, from what I'm hearing, it doesn't quite work the same as a regular human.
Right. Okay. Yeah, it's all very interesting. Another thing on Matt Hancock. So when you listen to him speak, he reminds me of a younger Tony Blair, who used to be the Prime Minister here in the UK. And the way he talks, his kind of diction, you know, the pace and cadence of his voice. I'm wondering if there's any connection between Matt Hancock and Tony Blair.
Interesting. Well, they seem to belong to a secret club together.
Okay.
That's what it's saying. Doesn't necessarily, like, we got that. It's not a good club.
Okay.
Okay, a secret club that maybe does, like, really pushes the envelope, like does bad things or things that wouldn't be considered good things to humans.
Yeah.
Or to be a human, to do those things wouldn't be considered good. So I think they belong to a secret club. So when you say, do they have something in common? I don't get it's literal, like they're
it's not like younger brother or the same gene.
Yeah, I'm not necessarily getting that.
Okay.
Now this is interesting. This was on the side with this. And then the secret one was in the middle. So the club, either they were both in it since children. So in other words, born into the cult and
Yeah.
or do things to children in the club,
Right.
or both.
Hence,
I
it
don't
would make sense about being rounded up that you said about Hancock. Yeah. So that makes sense. I've got a question about Kobe Bryant, the basketball player.
Yep.
So he famously died January 2020. So 2020, Kobe Bryant died, and he was in a helicopter crash. Helicopter is 111. Also, the word illusion is 111. And the area that it happened in California, supposedly was Corona, California. And he's supposed to have been buried in Corona del Mar. There's been a kerfuffle since saying, oh, people have tried to find where the burial plot was of him and his daughter, but he's not there, etc. So my question is you may have done this already, but I haven't seen it. Is Kobe still with us? Is he in witness protection? And is he going to do something similar to maybe some other stars that have been kind of taken out of the game visually?
He's in hiding.
Okay.
I get he's in hiding. So he's not been seen for a while. He's gone under. None of these are passing over cards. He's in hiding, and he was in deep and wanted out.
Okay.
And was also doing things to push that were really confronting the cult. We'll call it the cult. So he was confronting it, and they were threatening to take him out. So he took his own, he got helped out by the White Hats.
Okay. Do you see anything in terms of will he be kind of testifying? Will he be helping, the cause along? Do you see that?
Yeah, I get his daughter's also out. So they took, they might have been threatening family members, and this is how they got them off the tail, sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely involved in some kind of legal things, because she gives wise counsel. So he's talking about what they do with party substance, let's say. Who uses it, so he's bringing info, and not like he was like he was in the club, so probably been doing things at the parties, you know what I mean, right? So, but I feel like he started really having trouble with it in his soul, which I'm sure a lot of them do, and couldn't stomach it anymore.
Okay.
So
he got out and flipped and is trying to assist in some way, perhaps. Okay. Would his wife know that he's still, or does his wife know that he's in, hiding in witness protection? Does she know that?
Yeah, she knows.
Yeah.
She knows. Maybe not right on the day it all happened, because maybe they needed a response from her. But then she found out it was all different than she thought. And she's very happy about that. And even likely can be in touch, and maybe, who knows, even visits. Obviously, if the child's involved too, because I get the child's also in protection.
Yes, that makes sense. Sense. So going on from that theme, would Michael Jordan know the same thing? Would he know that Kobe isn't dead?
I think he thought he was, so that's an ending card. He thought it was
Yeah.
real, the facade, he bought into it, but
Yeah.
he's been led in on, he's since figured it out and or was let in on because he knows now. Now he knows.
Okay.
He's not maybe seen him in person because that keeps a safe distance.
Yeah.
But he knows, and there's a whole community of people that got out that Kobe and his daughter are with. So there's a whole community of them. I don't know
Okay.
where they all hang out, but
Does it give, would it give us an impression if we looked at the cards of where that may be? I mean, I've heard things like
yeah, let's have a
Greenland
look.
or Antarctica, you know, or Arctic or other, you know.
Eight, 10. Wow. Well, it doesn't want to tell us.
Okay. Okay.
So yes, it's a physical place. So physically, literally still here, physically on Earth even. And then this card says, but not time to know yet.
Okay.
Right? Not time to know. And things have to happen with this guy first. So Mr. T. So there's stuff going on with Mr. T that's about to happen, it feels like, because this 10 indicates the facade's coming to an end around, well, I think that's Mr. T. Everybody's going to know he's actually been in charge all along. And or he's the what I call the shadow government in the US. And I feel like when that comes out, it'll be time to know. Or soon after that, it'll be more like it's not safe otherwise, is what I get.
I got shivers when you said that. That's cool. Going back to MJ, to Michael Jordan. So obviously people know he was, the greatest basketball player of all time. He's been quite quiet. I don't really see much of him. Is he with us? Is he Trump side? Is he on the other side? Is he in between?
I think he must have come over at some point to the good guys because this is in the past.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually a healthy card.
Okay.
I think he was in the cult to get where he was.
Yeah.
For the money he made and everything that he was in. But then these two cards, and it maybe took him a while to realize that wasn't a cool idea.
Right.
Maybe at first it seems like it's an okay thing to sell out like that.
Yeah.
So he might have been in there for a while, but then it dawned on him and it could have even happened when all of these people started disappearing and like he could have had a shocking experience. So at first it all seemed like fun and games. And then it's like, something really bad happened. Like they maybe sacrificed somebody close to him or who knows what. He witnessed something that was shocking and woke him up to, okay, this is not cool. And I think he's meanwhile trying to make up or get on the good side or be in a good place, or he's trying to come over to be in a good place.
That's cool. Okay, that's good. That's good. Because he was one of the ones that got that special honor from Obama, a few years ago. And then you saw people like Tiger Woods get the same thing, but from President Trump, and so, well, that's good to know with MJ. Also going back to Kobe Bryant. So literally the day after I had that, seeing the new Jimmy Carr, coming out of the Truman Show for me. And I was thinking about Kobe Bryant and I was doing some numbers on it. And I'd been thinking about Shane and I was doing some numbers on Kobe and thinking there's could be a connection that they're both hidden. And then I was thinking of the numbers, I am Kobe Bryant, which comes to 136. Kobe Bryant is 113, which actually, interesting enough, is trumpet. So 113 is trumpet, and 113 or 113 also makes you think of, the thing that happened in November in 2020, etc. So, but literally, as I'm thinking that, and I do the numbers, I am Kobe Bryant, that comes to 136. I am is 23, it's MJ's number, and Kobe's was actually 24. So if you do 24 plus 113, actually comes to 137, which is 17th. It's also President JFK. But doing the numbers, I am Kobe Bryant, 136, Great Awakening. There's a gentleman that walks past me in Regent's Park, the magical park that I live next to. And it's a guy called Simon Callow, who's an English actor here in the UK. He was starred in Notting Hill. Sorry, not Notting. Was it Notting Hill or Four Weddings and a Funeral? I think it was Notting Hill, or Four Weddings. Anyway, it's one of those two. And he walks past, and I say hello to him. And then when I get home, I work out the numbers, and I'm like, Simon Callow comes to 136, which is Great Awakening, which is I am Kobe Bryant. And I was having that thought about Kobe Bryant, and literally Simon walked past. So that was a universe confirmation to me about Kobe Bryant. So that happened all simultaneously at the same time as well. I was watching one of your videos from a couple of days ago, Janine, and you were talking about future selves. So you and me and other people were discovering and maybe connecting with our future selves. And I thought that was a really interesting concept and idea. I've got a question about the films, the movies, because I love my sports, but people know that I love films, and I notice decodes and Easter eggs in them. And I'm wondering, and I felt this for a while, but when you said the thing about future selves, I thought, I'm going to ask this. Was I, or have I been, as my future self, somehow been connected to some of these Q films that I always reference?
Like, have you acted in them, or is that what you're
more in like, was I part of like the writing of them, the scripting of the films? Or was my cousin Paul in them? Did he script them?
Interesting. This is kind of weird. The feeling I'm getting, so it's not being very specific. It's not saying you have to do or anything, but the feeling I'm getting is that you might be involved in them.
Okay.
So, like, time is a big loop.
Yes.
Like a big figure eight. And I feel like you might be involved in them, and you might even help fund them in the future. So that's weird.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, it's something about the future. And then we've got the Wheel of Fortune in the middle. So there's some kind of karma tying you to them, and that's maybe why you're asking. But it hasn't maybe happened yet, so that's weird. So there's something about time doesn't quite go the same way we think it does. So, so you may in the future be a part of them, and then have
Got
it
it.
happen. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I got it. That makes sense. Okay.
Wow.
That makes sense. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
weird. Yeah.
Because there are a number of Easter eggs in the main films I talk about, like Back to the Future, Notting Hill's got some, but Dirty Dancing, The Matrix. There's references to my cousin Paul as well. Paul comes up in them, random, like disjointed character. Just they mention the name Paul, and I'm like, hang on. And then there's mentions of my other family members, like my mum, and then someone else that was at a family function many years ago, and they mentioned them in the same scene. And it's almost, I'm like, hang on, what's going on here? Okay. So, yeah, okay. That makes very, very well put. That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense to me. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, before we finish, Janine, I wanted to ask, well, they're kind of tied. So Chelsea Football Club, I asked about last week, and you said that kind of is a lot of not exactly what's being portrayed in the media. The narrative of Chelsea has, so Roman Abramovich, connections with Putin, so he's had to step down as the owner of the football club. First of all, he was going to just donate, kind of hand it off to people in the football club. Then he put it up for sale, and now they've sanctioned him apparently. So it's got to be a rush sale. I think they've got 81 days. 81 is dollars, actually. Interesting enough. 81 is also tower. So I'm wondering, are we going to actually see the transfer or sale of Chelsea Football Club, or will things in Ukraine have finished by then and that won't necessarily happen?
Okay, things are happening there that make, like, none of that's real, what you're seeing.
Okay.
Might already have in the background, deals have been made, and it's different than they're presenting it.
Okay.
And because it's, I feel like it, did we get that it was kind of dysfunctional?
I remember there was something about a dysfunction.
Shady in the, like there's connected to shady dealings or something?
What, Chelsea?
Yeah, I can't remember what we said about it.
What we got was that it seemed like Roman Abramovich was working with the White Hats, perhaps behind the scenes. That's what we got last week.
Okay, so that might be, this could even be that they're trying to out some people with shady backgrounds.
Right.
Maybe using the supposed rushed sale of it. It feels like whatever's really happening with it isn't what they're saying is happening.
Okay.
And everything's going to be different in that amount of time. It's going to be totally different. The whole story will be different. I even think the whole world will be different by then.
Really?
Yeah. So we're having, every week the whole world seems different to me, but
yeah,
I think it'll be really specifically different by then.
Wow. I think 81 days, I might have miscalculated, but I think it's something like June the 2nd that takes us into. So that'd be great if the world's really different by then. And what do the cards say? Finishing off, what does the card say in regards to Ukraine? Will this be over like in a few days, a week, or we're going to see it kind of roll on for a couple months?
So the whole thing around the Ukraine is they're trying to bring out what's happening with the children.
Okay.
Little ones.
Okay.
Surrender to, so it'll depend on how they're going to bring that out, because we know that that's a big playground for the elites. It was anyway.
Okay.
It was a laundromat and a playground, right?
Right.
They did a lot of things there that would have been them at play and us horrified, right?
Right.
Because I don't want to get your channel in trouble, so I won't say anything else. But yeah, so it feels like that's up in the air how fast it'll be. It could be 2 days, could be 2 weeks, could be 2 months.
Okay.
It'll all depend on how they can get things out there. They need things out really publicly in a known way about 12 and unders and what's been going on. I really get that really strong lately.
Okay. Sorry, there was just another, if you've got time just for another couple of questions.
Okay.
One thing that I wanted to ask was going back to this Stephen Bartlett podcast show, the one that had Matt Hancock on and Jimmy Carr. There's a guy called Roman Kemp who's a DJ here, he's a radio DJ, and his mother and father were famous, or are famous, probably the father more so. So do you remember, do you remember the musical band Spandau Ballet from the 80s? No? Okay. So they were like an English pop group that kind of would sing kind of poppy ballads. And his father, Martin Kemp, was in the band Spandau Ballet. And his mother, Shirley, was from Pepsi and Shirley, and they were the backing singers for Wham with George Michael and Andrew Ridgeley.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so anyway, they got together, got married, and had Roman. And Roman was talking. He made a reference to The Matrix, so I obviously noticed that. And he said he was talking about his parents, saying that they're just really, spot on parents, and he couldn't have chosen better parents. And he then extrapolated an example from the film The Matrix, and he said, in The Matrix, when you can pick your parents, meaning the part where the kind of you go beyond the matrix, you see all the kind of human babies in these kind of containers, and then he doesn't actually say about picking the parents, but he makes reference to this kind of production of humans, but he ties it in with him being that he couldn't have chosen better parents. I'm just wondering what he was kind of signaling then. Was he just alerting us to the fact that that sort of stuff goes on? I mean, he looks like his parents. He looks like his dad for sure.
Yeah, he was definitely double speak going on, because this guy really got hidden meanings and is tricky psychologically. So he was putting something out there. You were reading that correctly. Things that have been hidden from people, right? So all of the weird things that happen, maybe families like where he's from, okay? Because they do tend to manipulate a lot of the supposed females in the family are actually born males, so they actually can't have children. We've talked about this. So then they have to, like manipulate a lot of things to get these children, okay? For these couples, like I could name so many, but we've been down that rabbit hole before, right?
Yeah, we have.
Right. So I'm not saying that was the case in his family, but I do feel like, and I'm not saying it wasn't. I don't know, but it does look like he's referencing how tricky things are, and how like it's not known now, but it's coming out. He knows things are coming out like that. Okay, we're going to know all about this. What I really want to ask somebody is if they were transgendered from birth, did they know? When did they find out? What does it feel like? And how do they feel about that?
Right.
Because they don't have a choice. If they're in a family like that, they grow up and things have been done to them. They don't even, when do they know? When do they find out? Do they know? I guess they must eventually know. And how do they feel about that? Oh my goodness. I'd like to sit down with Duchess Kate and like have a chat with her about it.
Yeah. Talking of that, I made reference to before, JFK Jr. seems like he dated Cindy Crawford. I'm not sure if he dated Daryl Hannah, but he features Cindy Crawford on the George magazine. Rachel's done a piece on that just today, actually. And then Liz Hurley as well is one of the ones featured. So was it a case of, at that time, JFK had to kind of show the elites, well, we're playing ball, but not really, so they'd get, they'd appeared that, but they weren't obviously, involved in that, but it was for optics.
Yeah, I think it was like a practical choice to on the good side of those guys. Meanwhile, though, he knew what was going on.
Yeah.
Right, because we've got that integral card, and I'm sure if you look at the Kennedy family, I mean, lots of people have done. They got all kinds of. They're all connected too, right?
Right. Yeah.
So I feel like they got to know about these things. They would have been involved and or had relatives that were, and just chose not to be.
Yes. Yeah. I did a show, me and Rachel did a show with Juan a few weeks ago, and he talked about there's going to be 2 kings that are going to be taken off the chessboards, whether it's the same chessboard or not, because he was talking about, there's at least 5 being played. And Shane Warne, the cricketer, was, the king of cricket. He's arguably the best cricketer of all time and known cricketer of all time. And they referred to him, as the king and the king of spin. So I've been racking my brain, what are the kings in sports could go? I was thinking something about Boris Becker. He was the king of kind of Wimbledon. I've met Boris. He was working with Djokovic. We've seen the stuff recently with Djokovic. But also something that popped into my head was Robert De Niro. And he was known as the king of, he played the character in the King of Comedy. I'm just wondering are we going to see maybe Robert De Niro, announced that he's gone. I'm just wondering if that is maybe kind of imminent.
Well, I'm getting a yes on at least one of the people you mentioned.
Okay.
I think you got one of them right.
Okay.
And we got the judgment card. So it's going to be shocking maybe to people.
Really?
Well, so maybe just the way it happens, or they go from perfectly healthy, it seems, to, not healthy anymore. Yeah. So, but they've made deals in the background.
Okay.
Whoever the kings are, okay, they've made deals. So they may not literally go the way they say they did. You know what I'm saying?
Okay. Okay.
Could all be just like they're exiting them for some reason, maybe as a calm or a nod or whatever, you know how they do.
Yes.
Yeah, and they've made deals, or maybe even to keep them somewhere so they can maybe be in the tribunals or.
Okay. But there'll be a public announcement of it. Can we drill into further? I'm a terror. I think of so many things at once. So I mentioned 3 perhaps people. Can we look at each one that I named? Will it get into that detail?
Yep.
So the first one I mentioned was, I said Boris Becker. Then I mentioned Djokovic. Not saying that he was one of the kings, but we could look at him second, and then Robert De Niro. So let's look at Boris first. Boris Becker.
That looks pretty potential here, because that card manifests something.
Huh.
And the only one that looked to me like what was the actor you said?
Robert De Niro.
Yeah, that's a big potential with that temperance card. It's a major arcana, and it's a universal timing on it. There's universal timing on it. That feels like that's going to happen at some point.
Okay.
Yeah, that's going to happen at some point, whether that's along with these kings or not. That'll happen anyway.
Yes.
Not in this sort of tying into what you're talking about right now.
Okay. Okay. And that card you held on Boris, what does that look like to you, Becca?
That feels like that's held up.
Okay.
And maybe no on that one, and yes on the very first one. And then the actor looked like that's going to happen where they get exited, but not really, but it'll look like they did. And they've made deals, but I feel like not in this sequence you're talking about.
Okay. All right.
The king's going. So
the other king that Juan's referring to may have been held up.
The other king might literally be a king.
Huh.
Interesting. So how did you refer to these kings? Did he say they were the kings of sports, or the?
He didn't. Yeah, he just said that they were kings on the chessboard. And
oh, okay. I wonder if it's literally like Prince Charles or Prince William or something. Because this could be literally kings, because that's a king and a queen. So maybe connected to the queen.
Okay. Wonder if Prince Albert of Monaco comes into that equation.
I don't get that in this, what you're talking about here, because that fool is a flippant card, and that doesn't look like that's a plan.
Okay. His mother was Grace Kelly, and she died quite, infamously, tragically. Okay. Cool. Well, thanks, Janine. It's always a pleasure. Looks like you've got someone trying to get your attention, so we should wrap up. But I'll be seeing you soon with Jacob. So yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Monday, isn't it? Yeah.
Monday, I believe. Yeah. So
we're going to be on Jacob. Right on.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, Janine. God bless.
Yeah, you too.
Take care.
I'll have to go to that park with you one day when I get to England.
Definitely, I'll show you. I can show you the places where I've met everyone. All sorts. Yeah. Any plans for you to? Any plans for you to get to England?
As soon as we get loose, okay. Canada's the last one where you can't even go within Canada without papers.
Papers.
You know what I mean? Papers.
Papers.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Have you seen anything on that? Is that likely to go maybe in the next month for you guys over there? Do you think that might go?
Oh yeah. Okay. I think everything's going to go this month. I think the world's going to go.
Wow.
to a whole nother level. Yeah. Yay.
Awesome. That would be great. Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be awesome. I'll show you all around the park in London. You'll love it. It's great. Yeah.
Good.
I heard as well, apparently we're going to have a heat wave some point in this month. It's raining today. It's been, quite wet and miserable, but a heat wave would be welcomed for
Right
sure.
on.
Yeah. So, all right.